Hello Periscopers, this is Julie Johnson, Step Into Success Coach, and today is actually my very first broadcast, so it would be lovely to see some people joining. I'm a bit later than I thought, and actually that's because just about everything that you can imagine going wrong beforehand went wrong. Actually it didn't go wrong, it's just lots of things happened. So I had the postman at the door, I had the neighbour at the door, and I'm kind of, I wanted to do this at 12 o'clock, but there you go. That's what happens. And it is my very first one, and that's my very first talk. So thank you very much to some of those people that have joined that I do recognise the names, but it's actually really weird when you see just the ID and you don't necessarily know the people's names. So great to have you with me. Now, what I'm planning on doing today is talking about one of the key factors that hold you back and what you can do about that, how you can overcome that. And what I'd love you to do is just click that Perry dude in the corner. You don't know if you click it or you swipe up, share it, get some other people on board so that I can have, hi, thanks Tiana, so that I can just know that there are people there and hopefully can engage. Although it's a strange experience. People who are periscopers, who are kind of been doing this a while, it is a bit weird actually, just not being able to get the feedback verbally. So I'm hoping that I'll get some comments on the screen. So as I say, if you don't know me, my name's Julie Johnson and I'm the Step Into Success Coach. And what I do is help people create the space and go inside, do the internal work so that they create a mind that's primed for success, which then allows them to make better decisions for themselves, allows them to grow their business, allows them to make good decisions for their career and their life, manage themselves and their time better, and manage other people if that's part of their job role. So as I say, what I wanted to do today, and I'll maybe spend 10 to 15 minutes max, just talking about one of the key factors that I see that holds people back and give you some of my tips for what you can do to kind of work around that, to get around that. So before I sort of go into that, who here, and you can maybe just give me a 1 on the keyboard, ever feels like everybody else seems to have things sussed? You know, they've got the fab career, or they're growing a really good business, they've got a family, social life, lots of money, feeling fit, feeling happy, they just generally look like they've got it sussed, when you're sometimes feeling like, oh, am I the only one who doesn't have it sussed? Now, there's nothing coming on the screen here, so I'm fairly certain I'm not alone in this. Thanks Amy, great, so getting there, that's fantastic. Yeah, I know I'm not alone in this because I've worked with so many people over the years, thanks, yeah. And because I've worked with so many people from different backgrounds, different ages, different industries, I know that there are certain things that are kind of common to people, and that's kind of what I want to take you through today, the first key thing. So if you feel like you don't have enough of something, actually I guess that's one of the main things that people say to me initially is, well, I know what's holding me back. I haven't got enough time, I haven't got enough money, I haven't got enough. I mean, does anybody relate to that? So I hear that about time, I hear that about money, I hear that about energy. What else do I hear that about? Knowledge, contacts. Very often people say, well, I just don't have the contacts, or I don't have the experience, or I don't have the qualifications, or whatever it is for you. Just think about, are they actually excuses? Because I think for a lot of us, we use those as excuses. Now, I'm not saying that they might not be true in any aspect. Sometimes there's a partial truth in them. For instance, you may need to get a qualification, or you may need to get some other experience, you know, to be able to move forward. But in my experience, they're generally excuses, and they are, I guess, what we tend to do is try and tackle symptoms instead of try and tackle the cause. I'm just going to take a... So when I say things are symptoms, that's because people say, well, I'm really busy. You know, who here procrastinates sometimes, or is very busy? Just stick a number 2, maybe. Stick a number 2 on your keyboard. I'm sure that's easier than typing things. I've tried doing that myself and it takes ages to type things. So if you're really busy, being busy but maybe not very productive, oh, a heart, thank you very much. If you procrastinate, If you're constantly looking at other people, maybe on stuff like this and going, oh, maybe I should be doing that, or maybe I should be doing that. I think, as I say, what tends to happen is they are sort of symptoms, and the cause is actually a lack of clarity. So that's the first thing. That's what I'm going to cover today. Now, that's one of a few factors that hold people back. And what I thought I may do is actually look at, do a little series maybe for this week. So if the first thing is lack of clarity, now that's like, you know, they're just words. What do they actually mean? Well, I think it's probably best if we think about how you demonstrate a lack of clarity. Maybe that's the best way to put it. So what do I mean by that? Well, I don't know what I mean by that. You know, when you just, your mind goes blank. Hang on a minute. Oh, right. Yeah, sorry. I was going to mention the consequences. So when you're not clear and you're procrastinating and you're just being busy, then there are consequences to that. And what I see is that people just get really, really shattered because they're going round in circles. And what most of us tend to do is we buy into this kind of Superman, Superwoman thing, which actually, you know, the key's in the title. We're not superhuman, we are only human. So the consequences of a lack of clarity are quite profound, and yet we don't always consider those, and we don't recognize those. Because what we do is we underestimate the amount of time it's going to take us to do certain things, and we also underestimate the mental and emotional toll that it can take on us. So if that's the consequences, and that's kind of what happens when you lack clarity, what can you do about it? So what I'd like to do is maybe highlight 3 things that I think, 3 top tips, if you like, that I think you can do to take. I absolutely need drinks when I'm doing stuff like this. It's quite nerve-wracking. Even though I'm used to doing video, it's really weird. Anyway, it would be nice to see a hi or a hello or something there, just so that I know. Actually, I can see that there are some people online, so that's, just ignore me. Just ignore me. I'm just having a little wobble. Okay, so as I say, so lack of clarity, if that's one of the key factors holding you back, what can you do about it? Well, my first top tip, if you like. Hello, Lynn. Hi. Thanks, Amy. I know you've done one. I'm sure I remember you doing one, and I caught a teeny bit of it, and it's just very strange when it's brand new. Anyway, lack of clarity. First tip is to just think about who you're being in the world right now. Now, you may not have thought of this before, and I often get people to think of themselves as a dancer on a stage. So the people who do know me will know that I've done Irish dancing since I was very young. I was a competitive dancer. I do lots of forms of dance. I absolutely love it, and it's a great metaphor for who you're being and how you're living your life. So if you imagine yourself as a dancer on the stage, if I was looking at you and you were looking at yourself on that stage, what words would you use to describe yourself in terms of how you're being? Are you being confident, showy? Are you actually on the stage? Maybe that's a start. You know, maybe you're at side stage, you're waiting in the wings, or you're at the back of the stage. Are you in the spotlight? Are you in the back? So just think about words that would describe who you're being right now in your dance and in your life, and then think about who you want to be. Now, if you want, you can do this as an exercise. You can have the who I'm being right now in one column and who I want to be going forward in another column. And think about the words that you use to describe. And if you find that difficult, maybe you ask other people to help you with this. And one of the things I want you to do is actually to look at whether those words are aligned. If they are, that's fantastic. If they're not, which they may not be at this precise moment, then think about what's the one thing that you can do right now to be the best you, to be the type of person that you want to be. So, for instance, if you're trying to grow your business or you want to earn more money, then maybe the one thing that you do is ask yourself, who am I being right now? How would a 6-figure business owner respond to this. What would a six-figure business owner be doing? How would they be being in the world? And you can use that for any kind of example. That's just, the first one that came to me. So that's, who are you being in the world? And get very clear on that, because there are things you can do right now, and it may be just it's just changing your perspective. Second tip is think about what you're trying to achieve in the world right now. Now, this, again, some of these things, I would say, don't be fooled by their simplicity, because actually a lot of us don't go through this process. Oh, hugs, thank you. A lot of us don't go through this process. We kind of have an idea in our heads, but we've maybe not defined it. And in my experience, a lot of people haven't actually written this down. Thanks for sharing, Amy. A lot of people in my experience haven't written this down, so they're not really clear, and they're certainly not demonstrating it in their life. So what the kinds of things I'm talking about are your values, what's really important to you to achieve, because goals and things are all well and good, but if you don't know why they're important, then that's not great. So I've actually as well got a course that is going online. Well, in fact, it's online now, but it's in pre-launch stage. And that's one of the areas that I'm looking at. And one of the areas that I go through with you is helping you get really clear about who you're being and what's most important to you and what you really want to achieve. So you can have a look at that. It's successclubacademy.com. And at the moment, there's 60% off pre-enrollment, because it's not actually officially live yet. So second tip, going back to that's what you want to achieve, and that's getting really clear about the things that are most important to you. And when you do that effectively, when you're really clear about that, you start to demonstrate that, because you start to do things differently. And when you don't, then you're demonstrating the complete opposite possibly of what you want. So just, if I asked you now, if I looked at your life now and your business or your work, what would you be demonstrating that you really want to achieve? Would you be spending the time and the energy with the people and on the things that are actually going to move you towards that? Or would you be demonstrating something completely different by spending time on different things that don't show me that that's important to you? So those first two tips are about just being really clear on who you're being and who you want to be, and on what you want to achieve. The third one actually follows on from that, because it's really important to consider why you want to achieve something. So one of the best ways I found of doing this is actually using, you may have heard of the 5 whys problem solving technique. Well, I use this 5 whys in lots of different ways, and I use it for things like goal setting and looking at this kind of area of your life and business, because it gets to the core of why things are important to you. So for instance, if you say, well, what I want to achieve is to grow my business, I'd be asking, well, what does that mean? So let's say, just picking a figure that's a nice round figure, let's say you wanted 100,000 turnover or 50,000 turnover, or whatever that figure is. You want to get there. Then you say to yourself, you ask yourself the question, why is that important to me? So let's just ask that. Why might that be important to you? Well, it might be important to me so that I can actually provide for my family. So that's the first why. Why is providing for your family important? Because it make me feel secure and safe and like I'm doing what I'm supposed to be doing. So why is feeling secure and safe important to you? Well, it means I won't be worrying all the time about money or being able to provide for people. Why is not worrying so important to you? It'll give me a sense of peace. I'll just feel tranquil or at ease or whatever that is. Now, as you can see, I've asked that question 5 times. Now, you may not need 5 times to get to the real kind of issue for you. You just keep going until you can't answer that question anymore. Excuse me. So the important thing with this one in particular, is to get really connected to the feeling, to the emotions that are attached to that, and to use that emotion, to use that feeling and that sense of purpose, if you like, for why you want to do certain things, particularly when you've got when you've got important things to do that you may be resisting a little bit. Then that's really useful. It's a really useful tip, is to connect to the feelings. So I see and hear lots of people talking about visioning and imagining, and the bit that's missing most of the time, and certainly was for me, and that's how that's kind of why I teach what I teach, because I've had to learn it myself, is that connection, is that feeling. It's the feelings that are going to propel you forward. And certainly when you get connected to that feeling, you can do things right now to give you that feeling as well. So that's another way of getting over that lack of clarity. So that's 3 tips for getting around lack of clarity, which is one of the key factors that I see that holds people back. Now, as I said, what I'd like to do is maybe do some more over the rest of this week for other factors. Oh, fab, thank you. So what I'd like is if you can share, I'm planning on starting at 12 o'clock. I think it was about 15:15. So I've done about 15 minutes, which is what I said. And I think next time, if you've got any questions or there's things that, I'm not explaining very well, if you can maybe type me. I know it can take a little while to type the messages, but anyway, I plan to come back and do more of these and hopefully get better at these as well. So my name's Julie Johnson, Step Into Success Coach. If you want to share and tell your followers, I'll be live 12 o'clock the whole of the rest of this week. In fact, I think I'm going to start to really like this. So I shall see you very soon. Thank you.